Hey guys, welcome to the third discussion. So there's a lot to talk about here, a lot to process. There's almost 40 pages of reading, well, 41 actually. So I'm gonna go ahead and start in on this. The first thing I'm gonna talk about is William L. Roy's The Problem of Evil and Some Varieties of Atheism. So he makes three arguments for atheism that I'm gonna cover and talk about. So the first thing he talks about is there exist instances of intense suffering which an omnipotent, omniscient being could have prevented without thereby losing some greater good or permitting some evil equally bad or worse. So that's his first reasoning. His second is an omniscient, wholly good being could prevent the occurrence of any intense suffering it could unless it could not do so without thereby losing some greater good or permitting some evil equally bad or worse. And then this third reasoning, there does not exist an omnipotent, omniscient, wholly good being. So he uses the word suffering a lot in here, intense suffering. And he acts like intense suffering is not avoidable. And I guess, there's some cases where it's not, but I feel like for the most part, extreme suffering can be avoided. It can be prevented, reduced, and learned from. And I guess that's kind of based off of a universe with the theory of free will. So I'm taking a little bit from Plantiga's argument there. So I guess the option to prevent evil or suffering is available. So maybe the universe is good, and maybe if there is an omniscient, omnipotent God, He made the availability of preventing suffering and evil available to us. So that's just my thoughts on the Rowe, The Problem of Evil and Some Varieties of Atheism. So next I'm going to cover the J.L. Mackie Free Will and Omnipotence paper. So he talks about the problem of evil too. He says it's only for someone who believes that there is a God who is both omnipotent and wholly good. So this is only for people who believe in that. So it's not really a scientific or practical debate, but he brings in three statements that kind of contradict each other. So the first, that the person believes there's an omnipotent God. They also believe that it's wholly good, yet evil still exists. So the first two kind of contradict the third. This I'm going to cover a little bit more with the Plantiga's paper, because Plantiga actually talks about almost the entirety of J.L. Mackie's paper. So Plantiga immediately states that there's good and evil suffering, which I really agree with, because some suffering can be beneficial, I guess. Like if you break a bone, it's going to grow back stronger, or if you get sick, your immune system is going to be stronger. And then he also states that there's redeemed and unredeemed sinners. That's a little complex to think about, but that would be based off if there is a heaven or some other after place in this universe. So one of the arguments Plantiga makes is for the first and third statement to kind of make sense, he put this in here. He said God creates a world containing evil and has good reason for doing so. So I guess that kind of comes back to the free will debate again. If we have the ability to stop suffering and intense suffering and evil, would that mean that God gave us the ability to do so through that? And he talks about the church a lot in Augustine, and I guess I'll just kind of end on this. Augustine, he was a philosopher and also a theist, and he does a quote from him talking about free will. So, not reinforced from creating even that creature that God foreknew would not only sin, but remain in the will to sin. God could create a better, more perfect universe by permitting evil than God could by refusing to do so. So, even though he knew that the creatures he was creating would sin, he still created them and gave them the choice to do so. And I guess that's his argument. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. A lot of complex stuff going on in these papers. And I'll talk to you guys next time.